this is just for you. I'm saying it again, this is just for you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hello dear fishing enthusiasts. Even though today is like this, you could say it's damn bad weather, raining, damp and wet. I definitely keep my promise as I told you. I will be posting interesting DIY fishing videos every week. If you're in, make sure to give it a thumbs up and watch this video all the way to the end. So, in this video, we're going to make 5 simple DIY projects, literally on your knees, which you can do at home or already by the water. These will be simple DIY projects, which I'm sure will be useful to you, and you'll be able to easily replicate them. So guys, let's go! The first DIY project I want to tell you about is a loop tire. A loop tire is needed to tie loops on your rigs. What is this for? Any loop is stronger than a knot, and when you make leads or rigs, it is best to thread the loop into the loop and do it that way. People with poor eyesight or those who don't know how to tie loops find it quite difficult to do this. That's why a simple little device called a loop tire comes to the rescue. You can easily make a loop tire from a piece of wire. We take our wire and bend it. The first time, like this. Then we bend it again in exactly the same way. We ended up with something like this. I'm going to make a big loop tire now, so everything will be clear to you. You can actually make it in different sizes.
Guys,
On the other side, we take it and make the same kind of loop. And we bend the second end down here as well. So, this is what we end up with. Now we need to... like this. So that the long side is higher than this one. And you can just bite off this side, guys. So, in short, we end up with something like this. If I bend it here now, we'll just end up with a rectangle where one side is longer than the other. My stitch may have turned out a bit rough, but guys, I think at least you can see what it looks like in a larger size. So how do we tie it? We take the loop tying, and I'll show you on the cord. We take the cord like this, just make a loop on your finger, throw it over, and hold it. So, we make 1 turn, 2 turns, and you can do 3 turns, 2 turns at the edge. So, this is what we got, the little loop, we throw it over here, like this. Thread, and when we take it off, we get our little loop here. Turns out like this. We hold our hands, and the loop goes through this little hole that we have here. We drop it down through this side. We drop it down and tighten it. And here is our finished loop. Here it is, this loop. So, guys, based on the size of our loop tying, we can now take it off, and we have with us the finished loop. I'll show you again how to tie a loop. We take it on our finger. We thread it through several turns in half. Once or twice the free edge. Push it through here, and thus, this is the free edge that we have. We thread it through our 2 loops. We hold it, remove the loops over the edge, bring it here, tighten it, hold this edge with our hands, voila. And that's it. Our loop is ready. We take it off. It's very convenient to make such loops, using a simple homemade loop tie. It's common for us to use fishing stoppers, and stoppers, as we know, are only good for one use. In this life hack, I'll show you how to use one stopper multiple times. Here in my hands is the main fishing line and our stopper. We thread it through the fishing line. We take the fishing line and just release our stopper from here. Here it is. And it comes out like this. A stopper, guys, is a piece of rubber with a small hole inside, with a small hole that moves tightly along our fishing line and is thus securely fixed here. Once the line is cut, it's impossible to remove the stopper. That is, it is impossible to pass it a second time. There is a small hole there, you can't really get in there. Now I'll simply tell you how to use this stopper. Small. Few times. For this, all we simply need is a syringe needle. We take our needle, we take the end of the fishing line, and we thread the end of the fishing line into our needle. Of course, we push all of this through from the front. We keep pushing until it pops out from here. Popped out, pull, and now we carefully thread our little stop right in the center onto our needle. You need to do this very carefully, so you don't hurt yourself in case you miss. We thread it through and it comes out. Ours with you. Stop. There it is, it came out. Now we just take it and pull the line out from here. When we pulled out the line, our stop ended up on the needle from the syringe, and we can use it a few more times. Guys, so we definitely just take our line and simply insert it back into our needle. Back. This is how it goes in there, with us. It goes in, it goes in, it goes in. We hold it. From this side it turns out, and now we simply pull our stop, and it ends up back on the line. This way you can use fishing stops. Well, a few times. Guys, under every video you ask me in the comments, where did you buy your fishing rod and where is the best place to buy it? And where did you buy your rod and where did you get your reel? Friends, I use eCatalog. In front of us is eCatalog. We type fishing in the search, and now I'll show you how to do something like this. We all know this. What a vibrating lure is, and at its end there's a treble hook, either red or, as is often the case, a regular metallic color. There's also a lure, here's another one I have, and it also has a treble hook. But you can see how they differ. If these lures, this one and this one, have this little red blade, at the end it's plastic, so here a red sleeve is just put on. Why do they do this? It's considered an additional irritant for the pike. Many anglers even say that a red treble hook on a lure will provoke the pike, so to speak, for the attack. It seems that the pike bites better, constantly because of the red treble hook. Even when using red treble hooks on lures, the medium treble hook, they remove the regular ones and put on red ones. Often manufacturers put these petals, but sometimes they break off. So what's the solution? You can either make a red heat shrink tube or the treble hook yourself. If you have it, it can serve as an extra stimulus, or often people wrap some thread around it. Putting on such a heat shrink tube is quite simple. You can see how well it moves back and forth. But let's imagine that there's no heat shrink tube, and your lure just has a regular treble hook. There's one method that I've heard a lot about, but I haven't tested it myself, so I don't know about its effectiveness. Or there's the method with the red thread. Many anglers just tie a red thread right here. Well, it turns out to be something like this. In the water it all gets soaked. This is how it becomes tattered, it gets soaked, and these red things go behind your lure, behind the treble hook. These threads are especially effective for vertical winter jigging. When you're fishing in winter you jig, and it creates threads that look like maggots when you pause in place. We know this. But specifically in spinning fishing, I once met a fisherman just once who did it this way, and he said, "This is how I catch fish in this spot." The red hook, he has a regular hook, like in my case, and these threads, he was using it to catch pike. Sometimes we anglers have to fish in tough conditions, not in the sense that it's raining right now, but in terms of the water body. Sometimes there are really sharp drop-offs, and when we cast the feeder it hits the bottom, and a lot of break-offs happen. There's a DIY thing called a feeder float. It gets hooked at the top of the line. Friends, to be honest, I've never used such floats. But if you write in the comments, "Seryoga, test this float and catch some fish with it," I will definitely do that. So now I'm going to tell you how to assemble this float and how it works. So we just take a regular bottle and cut off a small piece from it. We need to cut it out, but somewhere it should be about 5 centimeters wide and around 10 centimeters long. Guys, this is it. A rectangle made from our plastic bottle. Now our task is to make 2 holes in this piece of plastic, one here and the other here, but that is one here and the other. Here, it is necessary to do it in such a way that the holes are not sharp. If we just poke through, the edge will end up being sharp. To do this, we take our lighter, heat our pin, let's say, to a red hot state, well, so that it can melt our plastic We heat it up, I think that's enough, and we make a small hole. One is here, and the other one is right here. This homemade device acts like a sail for a carp rig. This is what the carp rig looks like. It has a spring, a bead, and a leader line. I'll show you how to make the carp rig. I also told you guys earlier, link to the video, how to make a Carmack tackle for catching carp fish, Crucian carp, carp bream. I'll leave it in the description below this video, but right now, let me explain what a sail is and how it's used. When using heavy feeders, especially like this one, while fishing in areas with ledges, you often get snagged while reeling in fish. This is the sail that we just made. It attaches here to the line like this in front of the feeder. And when you reel in, the sail makes it easier for the feeder to move through the water. It kind of floats because of this, your rig, and that's it. These holes are needed to thread the line through here. Our sail, the line, we thread it through here. We pull it out. And from the other side, we do the same with our sail. We insert it so you can adjust the sail on the line higher or lower. By itself, it won't slide. Since the line is threaded from different sides, guys, you can adjust it. And to this end of the line, the feeder is tied back. So overall, it looks something like this. The sail that can be adjusted. Our feeding trough, and this is how it all looks. Or the other way around, the feeder and then the sail. I think the method is clear, and making this sail is quite simple. The next DIY project is marker stakes. What are marker stakes? Marker stakes are accordingly 2 stakes. This is how they're made, so it's convenient to lay the line down. And there is a rope between them. What are marker stakes for, guys? Feeder anglers, athletes, and those people who want to fish well with a feeder. Even feeder anglers have started using marker stakes now. They help you determine the fishing distance, which is important to know. Fishing, that is. You cast the feeder, set up your spot, and keep fishing in that same area. In case your line breaks, to ensure you keep placing the feeder in the same spot, you need to know the distance. You can measure this distance, for example, with a reel, and you can count how many turns you need. This can vary if you have different rods, different reels, and different gear ratios. Marker stakes are used for this. In my case, it's 2 stakes. 1 stake, peg, second peg. I'll now unwind the ones I've already used for fishing. I haven't told you much about them before. So, I'm gradually revealing all the secrets. And right now, I'm showing you these 2 stakes. The distance between these stakes along the line is 3 meters. 3 meters. I take my feeder and make turns. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, how many turns I have, I multiply by 3, and I know the distance to the fishing spot. Let's say, not there 23 turns in case of breakage through the shell I got caught, a cut happened. Or who knows? What else might happen? I take it calmly. I also retie the rig, make the same 23 turns, and will cast again to the same point from where I was fishing before. Marker stakes save you. Moreover, this length doesn't have to be exact. The length between the stakes, the distance, it can be 2 meters, 2.5 to 3. See what works best for you. But I find 3 meters convenient. So I started using feeders, and I just wrapped the line around the stake like this. That's not necessary. You can have an approximate distance there and just count by the turns. You don't need to know exactly 33.5 meters. You need to know the number of turns between the stakes. Let me briefly tell you how to make marker stakes in the easiest way possible, like the ones I made for myself. So, the simplest marker pegs can be made from 2 pieces of plastic pipe. I have a tube with some caps, 2 half-meter pieces and 2 rods. So, 2 pieces of half a meter and 2 rods. So, I just found 2 rods at home. And here I slightly sharpened them. The edges you see are turned down so it is sharp. They're quite heavy, so I'll glue them in place at about this distance using hot glue, and they'll hold firmly here. When our hot glue gun is pretty hot, I start pouring a lot of glue into it. After pouring the glue, we insert our tube. Let's stick it in, guys. Well, as you think it's necessary, I leave about this distance so that the pegs can go there. Drive it into the ground, and that was a good height. Next, we step back about 10 to 15 centimeters from the top and cut off the edge of our tube. Guys, now, if you don't have a special soldering gun for pipes, or you don't want to bother, let's say, like me, we take a torch, heat the edge of the pipe, and we need to make a 45-degree angle. This is where we glue everything together. Heat it up and push it all the way in. You need to glue all of this together. Heat it up and push it all the way in. Okay, I'm dressed. That's it. That 45-degree angle. We'll solder the corner piece. Here, like this. As you can see, I ended up with 2 of these markers, a peg. Now I'm sticking them into the ground and stretching a string between them. You can measure out, say, 4 meters of string and tie it here and here. And we will stretch it. Guys, if you like my DIY fishing, please click the bell to get notifications about new videos. The more views my videos get, the more it motivates me to create new DIY projects.